important matter. This is a very important national matter, and it happened towards the end of Tuesday's sitting of the nation's parliament. It has to do with the non-tabling of a report, an investigative report done by the Integrity Commission on the affairs of the publicly funded Firearms Licensing Authority. And so we're going to play the exchanges in Parliament because it is that important, the exchanges that took place. And then, of course, at the end, I'll have some comments for you. And I'd also like to invite those who are watching and listening to share their thoughts with us today on what the Parliament should do. What do you think the people that many of you have voted for to go to the nation's Parliament? Do you believe the nation's Parliament is acting in the interest of the public on this matter? Yes, so let's have a listen. This is Tuesday's sitting. The first voice you will hear is that of the leader of opposition business, Philip Powell, and he's going to raise this issue about the non-tabling of this report on the FLA.
Mr. Speaker, I have a query because I gather that yesterday the Parliament issued a statement on behalf of the Parliament about a matter that was supposed to have been tabled in the Parliament in March 30. But I find it strange that the report, the comments from the Parliament was not signed, and it indicated that the Parliament had issued a statement. Now, I would think if the Parliament is issuing a statement, certainly the leader of government business and myself would be aware of what the statement is and of the consultation, whether endorsed or not. I find it strange that a statement was issued yesterday without any level of consultation at all. And also, I find it strange that the statement purported to overturn a decision that the Speaker made on this matter in November of 2023. I'm sure the House Leader would be aware and would want to indicate really what happened yesterday, why was such a statement issued, why we were not informed, and why is there now a retraction of the position which I thought was quite clear in November 2023.
House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would have to do some checks in relation to the statement. Clearly the statement would have emanated from somebody with due authority under the Houses of Parliament to make such a statement. So I would have to, again, I think we know I will have to do some checks in relation to the statement of the statement that was indicated. Outside of the statement, I don't see any retraction of the position of the Speaker. That has not arisen on this matter at all, and I think that's as far as I will go on this matter. I don't see a retraction. I see a consistency in relation to how matters are treated in this regard. I see a member also has an intervention.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is an inconsistency because in the background to this is that there was considerable controversy toing and froing for a long time on delays in the tabling of reports coming to Parliament from the Auditor General and the Integrity Commission. That culminated in the Speaker, I think on November 11th, 2023, issuing her position on that matter. And I'm going to read from that. And I quote, reports of the Director of Investigation submitted under Section 54, subsection 4, and that's of the Integrity Commission Act, will be tabled as soon as possible after receipt by the Parliament, having regard to the serious nature of the matters that are contained therein. It will be requiring the immediate and direct attention of the House. After it is tabled, it will then be submitted to the Integrity Commission Oversight Committee for their consideration and report. And I add in parentheses, at that point it would be a public document that the media, the whole of Jamaica, and all parliamentarians would have had the benefit of being able to see. I continue. Kindly note, all reports from the Integrity Commission will be reviewed by the officers before they're tabled, and it will be tabled in the soonest possible time. No effort will be made to delay such reports. End of quote. That was the Speaker's ruling. This report concerning the Firearms Licensing Authority, a public body that has most serious statutory functions, came to this House on March 30, 2026. The cover letter from the Integrity Commission said that the report contains serious matters concerning governance, maladministration, corruption, etc. We are now in mid-May, and that report has not been tabled today. Reports that came to Parliament on Thursday last week, 4 of them, about relatively junior public servants who didn't comply with their statutory declaration filing deadlines. Those have been tabled today. But a most serious report has not been. Parliament allegedly says because the FLA brought proceedings in court, that is relevant to this decision. But in the Ian Hales matter, the court definitively said that the tabling of reports or any other document in Parliament is a matter which is immune from any kind of jurisdiction of the courts. And there's no court order, and there could not properly be any court order affecting the tabling of this report. So this is a most serious matter. We are sure that that report contains very serious matters that the public, the opposition, the media has a right to see and wants to see. And yet we see it being suppressed by the delay in tabling it. And that is untenable. The whole purpose and objective of the Integrity Commission Act is thwarted and undermined if the work of the Integrity Commission, its investigative work culminating in its reports, are sent to Parliament and are not tabled on a timely basis. This is affecting the democracy of the country, the governance of the country, and the public have a right to see it. And we demand that it be tabled today.
Mr. Speaker, the opposition's characterizations are most unfortunate for somebody who holds his office. There is absolutely no suppression, there is absolutely no undermining, and there's absolutely no infringement on our democracy. And I will indicate why quite clearly. As the opposition leader indicated, the Speaker has said that the report, any report, will be tabled at the earliest possible time after a review is done. It is clear, as was done in the Ian Hales' matter, which treated with a member of the opposition, where the matter was brought before the court, that report was not tabled by this Parliament until that matter was resolved. Why was that the case? That is the case because the standing orders make it extremely clear that where there are matters under 16G5 that are likely to prejudice a case, 6G5, that are likely to prejudice a case which is under trial, and under 35(2), any matter on which a judicial decision is pending, then we are not to treat with that matter, or we prejudice the matter. It would make no sense that this Parliament would do something, as learned King's Counsel said. It would make no sense that this Parliament would do something that would then take away the power from another arm of government, right? So the leader of the opposition is quite aware that this is how we proceeded with Member Hales. This is nothing new. This is no suppression. If it was good at that time for him and no issue was raised by the opposition in 2017 when this government, I'll say it again, and the member from Eastern Westmoreland waxed eloquently earlier about hypocrisy. In 2017, no issue was raised by the opposition when the matter involving Member Hales, when that report was not tabled by this Parliament. The right decision was made then. That decision is being made now, and I ask that we proceed to public business.
All right, so we're gonna pause it right there. I think there's another intervention to come from the leader of the opposition. Yeah, but we're up on the break. We've gone past the break, so let's take the break right here and come back. Tuesday's sitting of the nation's Parliament, and a discussion is taking place in the took place in the lower house. Concerning the non-tabling of an investigative report by the Integrity Commission. Now, according to a statement issued by the Integrity Commission, the Commission sought to advise that the four reports that it subsequently submitted to the Parliament are in addition to the investigation report it submitted to Parliament on March 30, 2026, which was formally received and signed for at 1:02 p.m. on that day. The Commission anticipates the tabling of 5 reports it submitted to Parliament. But the report in question that is being discussed here, this report looking into the affairs of the Firearm Licensing Authority, which, of course, as you know, the Firearm Licensing Authority, it's the government's gun control body. It presides over the granting of firearm licenses. Very important work done by the Firearm Licensing Authority. You've heard from the leader of opposition business, that's Philip Powell. You've also heard from the leader of government business, the Agriculture Minister Floyd Green, and he responded, and now the opposition leader is going to rise on a point of order. Let's continue to listen to the sitting, and then I'll come back with my thoughts.
And another thing, there is no, we have spoke on this matter, but you have been kind, Speaker, but there is no debate on this matter. This is not an opportunity. This is not how, if a debate is to be had, the leader of the opposition would have to move an appropriate motion, right? We have the leader of government, the leader of opposition business has intervened. The leader of the opposition has intervened. The government has responded. This is not a space for a debate.
Let me pause it here before the leader of opposition rises to his feet again. Parliament of late, and of course, I say this against the backdrop that I do not support the targeted move of the opposition to remove the speaker, to have the speaker removed from her chair. I do not support it. Yes, and so this is a separate observation. Parliament of late, though, is giving the impression that it is somehow allergic to, I'm not going to use the word debate, but let me say discussion on any matter at all that seems to be controversial towards the government. If you notice the intervention there from Floyd Green, indicating to the speaker that, look, we really don't want to have a discussion on this matter. The Parliament can't be giving the impression that it's allergic to discussions. Such an approach to conducting the nation's business must be resisted. Let's have a listen and watch of the video again, and then I'll come back with some more thoughts.
Point of order. On a point of order, the leader of government business in the House is misleading the House on this matter, and it must be corrected. The question of Ian Hales case is very relevant. The final ruling, the only substantive ruling in that case, was a reasoned and written judgment. And the court ruled that the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate would have been acting intra vires, in other words, within their powers, by tabling the report submitted by the OCG, as it then was. Their actions would be categorized as Parliament conducting their internal affairs, and as such, their actions would be immune to the jurisdiction of the court. I find that the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate were improperly joined to the application for leave as interested parties. It is abundantly clear that a public body like the FLA should not be able to throw a cloak of secrecy
Member,
my point of order.
You rose on a point of order, but you're making a presentation.
Yeah, I'm completing my point of order.
member.
I'm completing my point of order.
No member that cannot be allowed.
I'm completing my point
No
of order.
member that cannot be allowed. You're making a presentation. You would have raised your point of order to the point. Now you're making a presentation. So we're not going to allow that.
I'm responding to the point of order. I'm responding to the point of order. I am responding to the point of order. What the leader of the opposition has said is that the court has indicated that it is in the purview of the Parliament. That is what the court has indicated. The court has not said that you must table. The court has said that the Parliament has the right to decide. And I'm saying the Parliament decided that where the matter is before the court, as per the standing orders, if you were to prejudice that matter, then we will leave it alone. It's as simple as that.
We are not going to entertain a debate. It's not a matter of debate. I don't wish to do that because it is going to open the floodgate for others to ask questions. No, I am not convinced, member.
You heard there from the Speaker, Hero Clark. He's the Deputy Speaker. He's deputizing for Juliet Holness. He's sitting in there and he's saying he's refusing now. Back to the point I was making about what appears to be this ethos in the Parliament of becoming allergic to discussions on controversial matters. He's saying no, he doesn't even want to hear what the member has to say. He's not convinced, and because he's afraid it might open the floodgate to additional questions. So what, Hero Clark? Isn't that what you guys are getting paid to do? Discuss matters of national importance? Let's continue. It's almost at the end. So let's play to the end and then I'll come back.
Member, I am not convinced. At this time, I am not convinced. I am not convinced. I am not convinced, member. Bills brought by the Senate.
We see the opposition continue. You can continue showing the scenes. The opposition members are walking out. The Deputy Speaker is saying he's not convinced that the intervention by the member of the House, Dayton Campbell, there isn't going to lead to other questions. He's not convinced. Based on what, Hero Clark? This can't be how we conduct the nation's business. It can't be that we seek to shut down any attempt at discussing matters of a controversial nature that might put the government in a particular light. This document was sent to the Parliament on March 30, and this sitting took place on May 19. That's Tuesday of this week. That's almost 2 months. And questions about the actions of the Parliament, of course, hearing led by the government side, are being shut down. I want to read for you. I don't always agree with the editorial position taken by the Gleaner, and I've disagreed with them here. But I agree with this editorial in the Gleaner on this particular matter, and I want to read it for our listeners and viewers. And it was published on May 20. And listen to what the Gleaner says. For the avoidance of doubt, this newspaper asked Jamaica's Parliament to clarify the circumstances in which it would feel obliged to prevent within its chambers the airing of or take action on a matter of public interest because the issue is before the courts. Pardon me. The 6-week delay by House Speaker Juliet Holness in tabling a report by the Integrity Commission on its investigation into allegations of improprieties at the Firearms Licensing Authority, FLA, is a live example of this question. Ostensibly, Parliament has not acted because of the FLA's move to challenge the report's conclusions, classifying the matter as sub judice. While Jamaica's final court has not pronounced definitively on the issue, it appears on its face to be a broadly settled matter, including in this jurisdiction, that courts have no role in how Parliament conducts its internal affairs. Indeed, the issue was ventilated 3 years ago by Justice Lorna Shelley Williams in the Ian Hales case, a matter roughly analogous to the FLA's. In 2017, Mr. Hales, now a People's National Party legislator, went to court seeking judicial review to strike out findings by the then Office of the Contractor General, OCG, that he had engaged in conflicts of interest in property dealings while serving as a junior minister in the PNP's 2012-2016 administration. The OCG is one of 3 agencies whose functions were later assumed by the Integrity Commission. Mr. Hales, the Gleaner, continues. Obtained an injunction preventing the tabling of the report, causing the document to languish for 5 years. Listen to this, causing the document to languish for 5 years until Justice Shelley Williams ruled in December 2022 that his request for judicial review was without merit. She also held that there was no basis for a stay preventing the tabling of the report because fundamentally the courts have no such power. Justice Shelley Williams stated in her judgment, quote, "The Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate would have been acting intra vires by tabling the report submitted to it by the OCG. Their actions would be categorized as Parliament conducting its internal affairs and as such would be immune from the jurisdiction of the court. I find that the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate were improperly joined to the application for leave as interested parties. Under the Integrity Commission Act, the IC cannot speak about its investigations until reports are tabled in Parliament. However, in recent times, the Commission has begun disclosing when reports are submitted without providing details. The Gleaner, of course, says it's independently learned that the report delivered to Parliament on March 30 related to the FLA. Parliament did not specifically acknowledge receipt of the document, but confirmed that it had been informed by the FLA's lawyers that the authority had applied for judicial review, including injunctive relief and related orders pertaining to a report prepared by the Integrity Commission. In light of those active judicial proceedings, the matter is presently sub judice, and it would be inappropriate for the Houses of Parliament to make any substantive comment or take action in respect of the report while the matter remains before the court, Parliament told the Gleaner. Notably, Parliament did not indicate that it had received any ruling or directive from a court or judge relating to the FLA matter. On its face, Parliament acted on its own initiative, and a point which was confirmed by the response by the Leader of Government Business in the lower house, Floyd Green. The editorial goes on to say, this raises several red flags, and I agree. It recalls Speaker Holness's ill-advised attempt in 2023 to introduce a regime that would have slowed the tabling of IC reports, widely interpreted as an effort to avoid politically embarrassing disclosures. And the government is again opening up itself to that accusation. It's a reasonable accusation to level against the government based on this decision that has been taken. It also draws, the editorial goes on to note, attention to the typically slow pace at which cases move through Jamaica's courts, increasing the likelihood that accountability will be undermined by delay and public forgetfulness. Yes, perhaps most troubling, says the Gleaner. This approach risks opening a Pandora's box for individuals subject to adverse findings in reports submitted to Parliament. On even the flimsiest pretext, they could use court filings to trigger Parliament's self-imposed sub judice restraint. And this is a self-imposed sub judice restraint on the part of the nation's parliament, led by the government members. In her judgment, Justice Shelley Williams highlighted sections 48 and 51 of Jamaica's constitution, which respectively grant Parliament authority to determine its privileges, immunities, and powers, and permit each house to regulate its own procedures through standing orders. Consistent with the constitution, each chamber has its own standing orders governing how it conducts its business. The question is whether the tabling of the report from the Contractor General falls within the category of business in a sitting, and as such would not be subject to the jurisdiction of the court, she asked. Her answer was an emphatic yes. Indeed, in closing, the Gleaner says Justice Shelley Williams cited several authorities on the issue, including a 1994 Privy Council ruling in a case from the Bahamas, which says the courts will not allow any challenge to be made to what is said or done within the walls of Parliament in performance of its legislative functions. In the FLA matter, Jamaica's Parliament acted at its own discretion. The question is whether the Speaker properly exercised that discretion. Many will say no. That's the end of the Gleaner's editorial, and I agree. I'm saying no this morning. Is the Parliament acting in the best interest of the public in not tabling this report? That is the question that should detain us. And the answer to that must be a resounding no. The Parliament has not acted in the best interest of the public. Now, the PMP might very well lack credibility capital on this matter because of the Ian Hales matter, but the people of Jamaica do not. And this is where the people of Jamaica need to let their voices be heard. Every right-thinking Jamaican should let their voices be heard on this very important issue of transparency. Your parliament, led by the government members of the JLP in this instance, has erred on the side of effectively suppressing an investigative report by self-imposing a sub judice restraint on itself that it does not need to. The Parliament took this decision, led by the government members of the Jamaica Labour Party. It might have been good for Member Hales back then, but not for the country. It was never a decision for the country. And in this instance, it might be good for the government's image, but not the country. Demand transparency from your parliament, right-thinking Jamaicans. Say no to the suppression of anti-corruption investigative reports that will lose its currency if it languishes there for years. The parliament decided that where the matter is before the court, yes, it doesn't want to prejudice this. And of course, you heard the leader of government business quoting the standing orders there. But a parliament must err on the side of transparency and what serves the best interest of the country. Those are my thoughts for today. We have to leave it there. Of course, we have some important interviews lined up for you as we will try to take a look back at the Eventide fire. Many of you might not